Mr. Barr here for day 2 of Driver's Ed. Day 1, intro video and kind of a video that explains some of the stuff that we will try to cover, some sites and some things that you can use in order to make your life of driver's education a little bit easier. Today what we're going to do is actually start the lectures for the rules of the road book. Important thing to understand about that, these lectures are what is setting you up for your permit test. So we'll cover all of the rules of the road book, then we will take the permit test. So you really need to pay attention to this stuff. Have your books out when I'm talking about it so you can kind of follow along. If you haven't picked up a book yet, you can go to driveredday2.com, click on Driver's Education and click on the rules of the road book and you can follow along with us. My thing says 2020. The books I gave you said 2019. Biggest thing is there's not much difference. The book that I had when I took this class in 1996 is probably pretty similar to what you guys are looking at right now. So that's important to understand. Don't worry if your numbers don't match up. Not much difference. Okay, chapter 1 is looking at your Illinois driver's license. The biggest thing that's important, and I've talked about it with each person that came in, is the 30 classroom hours. That's why it's important for you guys to click attendance every day to verify that we are actually getting in here and paying attention to the new information that I'm going to give you every day. This is super important. Check in every day. I can't emphasize that enough. The 6 hours of behind the wheel happen closer to your birthday. You'll get your permits, which we'll talk about later. And then once you get your permits, we'll give you some time to practice. And then before you turn 16 at some point, we'll do the 6 hours of behind the wheel. Okay, instruction permits is what we're working towards obtaining currently. The biggest thing you have to understand is we got some things we have to do. At some point here, we will take a vision test. The vision test is basically checking, can you see? We're not looking for the greatest vision in the history of the world. We're not looking for fighter pilots here. All you need is 20/40 vision, which is you see at 20 feet what most people see at 40 feet, both eyes. So it's not hard to achieve. The biggest thing I tend to preach when I talk about this is if you know you are having vision issues, before the vision test, go get glasses, contacts updated. Otherwise, you're going to have to take the vision test with the DMV when you go up there, and it's just going to make your time getting through that a little bit longer. So if you have everything up to date when I do the vision test with you, it will make your life much easier. Looking at 4 weeks from now, hopefully, to do the vision test along with the rules of the road test. And that would be your written exam, which truly isn't a written exam anymore because now it's an online test. Again, if you came to the pre-registration thing we did, I told you that's the one thing they won't let me give to you online via internet. We'll do it online in person so that I am making sure you are the only person doing that. And again, we'll tackle that more in depth later. A couple other important things here is by taking this course and getting your instruction permit, this will allow you to get your license at 16 compared to 18. Anybody that doesn't take driver's ed has to wait till 18. Even at that point, they still have to take a 6-hour course that proves they know some information. The other beauty is your permit is valid for 2 years from the time you get it. So if you don't feel comfortable and don't want to get your license at 16, you can kind of keep driving on that permit until you feel like you are ready. Once you complete driver's ed, I will turn in all your information to the state. So this is basically proving you have met all your requirements of classroom and driving. Therefore, you are prepared to get your license. On my website that I showed you in day 1 video, I showed you a form where you can go, click on this, and have access to a paper area an area that says you're qualified or you're not qualified to go get your license. If you go to get your license, permit, all this, I say always bring your instruction permit for the license, obviously, IDs if you have one, info received from school, and the 50-hour sheet. Again, that is posted on my website as well. You can pick up a book when you get your permit, is what they want you to do. The big thing is 10 of those hours need to be at night, and it's important to get this done as close to correct as possible. Co-op driving is a program we offer. If you get a B or better in this class, then I can give you a test when it becomes time for you to drive. By passing that test with me, now when you go to get your license, all you have to do is give a piece of paper to them, give all your stuff, and boom, you're done. Compared to if you get a B- or below, you still pass, but you will have to test with the state, which no big deal, you'll probably be fine, but it's just kind of a comfort thing. If I can test you, we already did some driving together, you're probably going to be a little less nervous compared to driving with some new person that you don't even know. At some point you'll have to renew your license. They'll give you a 90-day grace period, or a warning kind of. If you're a good driver, which we'll talk about later, you don't even have to go in to do it. But the big thing is you need to go up there and get that updated as needed. You need to make changes to address if you move. You can do that on that Cyber Drive Illinois that we've talked about. Military has extra time on this as well. Safe driver renewal is only for 22 to 74, and the biggest reason why it's not earlier is your first license is good from 16 to 21, and then obviously we get the different setup of the license. Instead of having a vertical license for under 21, you'll have a horizontal license for the over 21. And then as long as you don't have any violations, they'll basically send you a letter saying, congratulations, you're considered a safe driver, mail us some money, we'll give you a sticker, and you're good to go, compared to having to drive in, go through the DMV lines and all that stuff. You can only do this every other time, because every other time they're going to want to test your vision or your knowledge of the roads to make sure you are staying up on and paying attention to what's going on around you. So you can only do it once every 8 years, which, like I said, it's just kind of a safety thing. Standard renewals for everybody else. You can see kind of it graduates as we get older. 21 to 80, you're good for 4 years. 81 to 86, you're good for 2 years. And 87 and over, they want you yearly. And the biggest issue is as we age, obviously, our vision and some of our reflexes start to go. So they want to make sure that those people that are aging are kind of able to still do the necessary things in order to drive. Some tests vary, but everybody that goes in has to get the vision test, because we're talking about, and you must take the written exam every 8 years, which is why we just talked about for the safe renewal, you can only do it once every other cycle. So it's important just to kind of understand that stuff. Only can get duplicate license if you are older or you have some issue. They're not giving out multiple licenses to keep in different cars. It's just not something they do. On this one right here, must submit ID with name, date of birth, all that stuff, signature comparison for driver's license requirements, no big deal there. On your page 99 is the first time what you do, duplicate, what you can do, renewal. This is all the acceptable identification information, and they should all be on page 99. If not, I'll check, or just find the acceptable identification area. That's what you can and can't use when you're doing upgrades or getting your license for the first time. To receive a license, visit a facility, get your photo taken. If eligible, safe driver, you do not need to appear, turn over all out of state. This is just basic, some of the stuff we've already talked about, what you have to do when you go to the facility. I'll get more in depth when it comes time to get permits, because this is the information that you guys need to know right now, and a lot of this stuff isn't tested on. New residents, your license is valid for 90 days or 3 months. So when you move from state to state, your license is valid for that time period. The only thing that does become an issue is some states don't recognize other states. So you could be good for 3 months, then all of a sudden they're going to tell you, oh, yep, you got to go take driver's ed again, which kind of sucks, but it's just the way things go. Must be 18 except. We talked about this. You guys can kind of read through these, pause this video as you feel. Like I said, you don't have to watch it all at once. You can pause it, get up, walk around a little bit, watch some more of it. That's why I like doing it this way. Age continued again. Pause, read these. I'm not going to go through each one of these because, again, some of this information is just not necessary, but if you just want to read it, it's okay. If your driver's license is lost, you can file for a new one. Costs money. They don't want you to have fake licenses. They don't want you to do fraud because, obviously, we don't want fake licenses out there. We don't want people lying about who they are. All this stuff is illegal. Special vehicles have special requirements. It's based on your vehicle size. We'll get into that more in depth later. It's the amount of time you've had your license, different convictions you may have had, things like that. Child care vehicles require these special things to be deemed legal. Some other notations that are important is your blood type is important to put on your license. There's the back side. And this is important because if you're involved in any sort of accident, paramedics are going to look for what type of blood you have, any other sticker that might be on there that tells them that you're allergic to something, things like that. It's important to have this information because, again, this is what they're looking for to try to save your life. It's important to remain fit when you drive, and we're not talking about, being an Olympic athlete. And the biggest thing is not having any condition that is going to make you unsafe to drive. The exam they give you is like 6 or 7 questions, 5 questions, yes or no. If you mark yes that you have an issue, you're going to have to get a doctor's note, but it's important to make sure that you answer those questions truthfully, because if you lie and then you cause an accident, again, you're held responsible for those actions. Fees are on page 10. I'm not going to go through those. Go ahead and look at page 10 in your book to see those. This is important. These are the classifications I told you I would get into more in depth. Each license is Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class L, Class M. Each one has its own criteria. You guys are going for a Class D license. This is 16,000 pounds or less, which is a pretty big vehicle. Trailer, all that type of stuff. If you go above 16,000 pounds, now we're getting into a special license. But with your Class D, you're pretty much qualified for a lot of stuff. Class L versus Class M are slightly different. Class L is not a special driver's license. Class M is. This is a motorcycle license. Special requirements, you can kind of read through those. Pause again if you want. Special driving permits. This is some driving permits they allow for different circumstances. A restricted one is maybe I got in trouble for drinking and driving, but they're giving me the ability to go, to work or to school only. If I get caught outside of doing those, I am in trouble. Same thing for this one right here, monitoring device. This is a device they put in to check your breath when you go out to drive, again, after you had a DUI or something like that. Occupational is if I drive for hire, they can give me an occupational driving permit, but I will tell you, usually, if you have 3 moving violations, you're going to be hard to hire as a driving for hire business because you are going to be a liability. Family financial is the next one. Is if I don't pay court fees, they can take my driver's license away or tell me I can only go to work. Restricted CDL is something that a lot of farmers will get, so that they only have to have a CDL for certain times a year, harvest, things like that. Probationary license is if I get in trouble, I can file for probation, basically give them a little extra money, and as long as I don't get in trouble, my violations go away. Restricted local is kind of a elderly thing they offer. If I'm not going to leave my local area, I can get a license and have a cheaper insurance rate. Under 21 is vertical, over 21 is horizontal. I already talked about that. Just checking ahead here, sorry, to see how much more we got. Some exemptions, again, move in. If I'm an out-of-state student, so if I live in Illinois and I go to Missouri, my license is only good in both states. Sorry, it's good in all states as long as I don't become an in-state person. This is okay if I go to Missouri and I'm from Illinois and I want to get in-state tuition. Now I must become a resident of Missouri. Once I become a resident of Missouri, now I need a Missouri license and need to get rid of my Illinois license. So that's important to understand. If you're driving through, just passing through states, your Illinois license is good. Some of these other ones are on here. Some special services, again, pause, read these real quick. Free rules of the road course was what you're taking right now. What you pay the $250 for is the driving portion. That's important to understand. Some of this stuff, is also for you to look at. CDL is a program set up for driving for hire as well. We'll get more into that later also. And that's where I'll stop today. Thanks.